Hey y'all, I know Fly on the Wallin is about to start. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to remind you that if you are in New York City on October 25th, you need to come see me and Ben on our first ever show. Fly on the Wallin is going live. It's the podcast on steroids and it's coming to a stage in New York. So buy your tickets ASAP before they sell out. And now let's get started with the show.
There. Our house is a construction zone. Dangerous, loud. Proceed with caution. I'm your neighborhood-friendly black girl, Amber.
And I'm Bulldozer Ben, and I'm ready to plow through everyone.
Everyone on the construction site.
On the construction site.
There's probably laws
Get
and
some
permits.
workman's comp for everybody.
So to be clear, when you plow people, they need workman's comp.
Oh, yeah, because they won't be able to walk when I'm done with them.
Shit, man. Well, okay. Welcome to Fly on the Wallin. Contrary to that opener, this show is not about plowing to the point where you can't walk side to side. This show is the show where we share our stories of dating, parenting, and what happens when you record it all for the world to see. Before we jump into the show, this camera's on me, right? I want to extend a hearty thank you. Thank you to all those of you. Ooh, I just tripped on my damn tongue. Thank you to all those of you who support us on Patreon for $1, $2, hell, even $5 a month. If you would like to join the Patreon, aka the Country Club, you can find that link in the episode notes. And also, I have to read a couple Apple Podcast reviews.
Yeah,
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
We officially we reached 1,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts. It's been a long time coming. So shout out to those of you who were with us when it was Fly on the Wallin, and then who were with us when it was the Sci-Fi Sci, and are now with us in our new iteration, Fly on the Wallin. And I just got to read a couple of these. I just said that. Yes, here we go. We got one from She Boo Bryn. Love this podcast. Amber and Ben, and of course, Baby Wild. They're so relatable and so real. This one is from, y'all got these long names. Bet Clue Broadcast Days, maybe? Hey, Wallin fam. Long-time listener, first-time reviewer. It's always a pleasure tuning into the podcast and hearing your thoughts on relationships and sharing new experiences with people who listen. I'm inspired to express myself in many ways when I see how you're navigating. Can I do like two more?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the Wallins. KT12. The balance of funny and realness between these folks keep me coming back weekly. Thank you for sharing your life with us. And then I have one more from Lindsay Victoria. It says, Scene. Growing up as the white black girl who loved books and all things theater, I see Amber in myself. I love how real she is and how she and Ben are so open to their everyday struggles and triumphs. They have even taught me how to communicate better with my husband. Love this podcast. Yay, that's great. I mean, you know, I think it's no shocker that I was called a white black girl many times because of my interests. It's not fair. Ben, have you ever been called a black white boy?
Yeah, I was gonna say it just doesn't work the same way. You know?
I know, because you like basketball.
I guess I have been called the N-word before in an endearing way.
Huh?
Yeah, like
story time. Go.
Yeah, I was really hot shooting threes, and the guy was like, "That white N-word can shoot. Good job."
Wow. So even the one time you've been called the N-word, it was a term of endearment.
Yes.
I love that for you.
Yeah. Have you? I mean, I feel like most times when you're called the N-word by your, friends or sister or whatever,
right,
it's like a term of endearment.
Right. But why then do you just automatically get that? It's not fair. It's not fair.
Have you gotten the N-word in a derogatory term like many times, or just maybe one or two?
Probably one or two. Yeah. Or I feel like somebody has said black in a derogatory way more times than they've said the N-word.
Okay.
Because the N-word is like, this is so clear. Whereas a teacher could be like, my black students are the loudest in the class. I don't know what's going on, especially those black girls over there. It's like,
yeah, that's mean. Might as well at that point just say the N-word, because that's what you said in your head, but you censored it to say black. But what you meant to say those people over there.
Right.
insert.
So everybody loves you. What's that like? What's it like to be God's favorite?
It's really hard sometimes because it puts a lot of responsibility on me to always perform well. Because I'm like, okay, now I really have to make sure that I live up to the expectation because I don't see myself as perfect as everyone else does. And so
I think you do.
I don't. I present that I do, but deep down I have deep-rooted insecurities.
Like what?
So many, like, will I ever finish writing a book? Will I ever be a good father? You know?
You don't think you ask yourself, will you be a good father?
Yeah, especially when Wild's older. When Wild comes to us with like a very traumatic event, or I have to deal with some bullshit teacher, or I have to deal with a situation. Someone, you mentioned before that you went to go get your oil changed once, and it was like $250. You called your dad, and your dad's like,
I think they ripping me off, Daddy.
it's $250 for an oil change, and he's like, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can step up and perform that way. Like right now it's very easy to perform for a child.
Oh, she's obsessed with you. We shared that video last week. Again, a video I was like, this is just a cute. And it's gone crazy.
Yeah.
She's done it again, folks. Another world tour.
I have a lot of problem with people posting those kinds of content. It's like you're not comforting your child. You're taking the time to film your child having a meltdown instead of comforting them. I think
is that why it's going viral? I haven't dug too far in the comments.
No, I know people do viral things. Like I'm going to break an egg on my kid's head, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Or do something and just film my kid having a meltdown. But I think you were filming anyway.
I was.
And then you saw her crying, and then you just flipped to her, and then she came, and you immediately started comforting her. So you were fine. I think it was just funny, the Rihanna song just juxtaposed with, her sort of breaking out. It was traumatic for her because that's the thing. Little kids have big feelings.
They do.
And that feeling of separation and anxiety, that's how you feel when you don't get the ramen bowl the night that you want it. You know what I mean? It's a very similar emotion that's going through their head.
I like a little Well, thankfully you got me the ramen bowl. Ben and I went to get ramen last night, and we didn't film any of this. And then we went to a bar in LA just to have one drink. Because Ben's parents were in town, and I wrote some jokes. About
spit out my drink. It was so funny.
I wrote some jokes about this hard thing that I was going through a couple months ago, and which I'm not going to spoil because I want y'all to come see it.
You have to go buy her stand-up. Yeah, you have to buy her stand-up ticket.
I wrote some jokes, and I feel like Ben is my toughest critic, so I just wanted to test out the jokes on him, and he just like laughed so hard.
And I wasn't drunk or anything. I hadn't even finished one drink by that time. I was just on the floor. I actually had to spit out my drink. I literally spit out my drink. We were outside, so I didn't get it on the nice floor.
Right.
Because I really respect people who provide food service, so bartenders, waiters.
So you didn't spit on anyone. They
were
not in the splash zone.
So they wouldn't have to come and like clean it up, right? So I was respectful. I would have like held my nose and had to swallow it if we were inside because I slobbered over your joke. It was so funny and so unexpected because I didn't think you would go that route of dark humor. It was dark. Guys, this was fucked up comedy. And it was all based on her personal experience, and it was just beautiful.
I can't wait to share.
Oh, it's so good. And
I'm going to write more, memorize it, and then maybe I'll hit an open mic. I'll be brave enough.
No, you're not going to do an open mic. You're going to go straight to performing. You'll be
you
on a
test
set.
It out. You gotta see what people respond to, because every time, it's like the internet. Every time I think like, okay, the hoes going to love this, like me with my fucking quill. That's not the thing that they sometimes respond to. They responded to this other thing that I was like, I thought this was a throwaway joke. I thought this was like a throwaway video.
No. You're not doing open mics. You're past the stage of open mic.
I feel like, no, every stand-up has to hit the open mic scene. I've done open mics before. It's just been a while.
No, not at this point. Amber should not be doing open mics.
Why?
Because open
That's
mics
how you get
are
it
for
out the mud.
Open mics are for people who don't have a following of like fans. You already have fans, right? People are listening to
I know,
this
but that
are a
doesn't mean
fan
the
of
jokes
you.
are funny.
But they're fans because you say funny shit. Like you are 100%. Skip the bullshit of an open mic, because you know who are at other open mics? Other comedians. And
right.
those other comedians are not listening. It's
test
not
out jokes.
No. You don't need
Well, we'll see.
I'm her pseudo manager in some ways. So we're gonna get you on a set list. You'll be part of a group of 4 comedians. You'll do something at a comedy club around town. You would be great. And then just
I'll talk to my
post
friend
it.
about it. Yeah, I have many friends that do stand up in town.
And they
I'll talk to them
all
about it.
have said that you can go to a comedy club and be on a set list. You should.
I
not.
know, but sometimes I like to just test out. It's like rough drafts. You're like, let me just test out.
What's this insecure? If you were a white man, you would not think about testing it out. You would just know that your jokes were funny.
Yeah, I don't want to be a white man, and I don't want to be up there telling not so funny jokes, but everybody's like, you're white.
Yeah,
I
but
guess I'll throw you a fucking laugh.
I was your open mic, Amber. Baby, let me be your open mic. I was your open mic, and you were hilarious. Like, what is this with you thinking that you need to test out a joke when you know it's funny?
It's like you got to test out. It's like a chemist in a lab. You got to test it out before you patent it and sell it to people.
No,
that's a part of the creative process. I'm an artist.
Next question.
I'm an artist, Ben. Anyway, so your folks were in town this weekend. You wrote here, everyone is susceptible to influence. Cosmic Coffee on Mount Wilson.
Oh,
what?
yeah. Oh,
so
influence.
Go for it.
So
Hashtag influence. Sorry.
Can you explain
the first segment of our show is about
host.
our lives as creatives, content creators online, a.k.a. influencers. And so we talk about happenings on the internet and being influenced. So take it away.
I pride myself in not being addicted to my phone, which is changing. I'm slowly developing an addiction. But I pride myself of not really knowing a lot of the trends. You know, Amber has to keep me up on the trends because usually if I have downtime, I'm not really scrolling through my phone. I'm reading a book or I'm playing video games.
That's true.
Because I am more about the long storytelling type of thing. Except I was susceptible and I was influenced, and it happened this week.
Oh, what influenced you?
I saw something.
Please say clothes.
I saw something online, and I said, I want to do that. And it felt like what probably a lot of people experience when they're sitting in upstate New York, outside of Albany in a suburb, scrolling through their phone late at night because they have to wake up. They're a kid. They got to wake up, go to school. It's snow outside, and you see something, and you're like, wow, I want to do that thing. And you feel the need to do that because your life is so miserable at that time. And that is 100%, that biographical scenario is 100% my scenario. So if I had social media going up, I think I would have been way more influenced to do things, buy certain products, buy video games or whatever. So
we had our own form of it.
Yeah.
You know, like when
MTV.
Kevin McAllister had the Talkman, the Talk Boy,
yes.
and then everybody bought one of those.
It wasn't a ubiquitous. Like you had to sit down and watch a movie to see some sort of branded content.
But you were still consuming media that made you go buy the thing.
You were, but not in the gut-wrenching constant way that it is now.
Right.
Where like bam, 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 like I want that, I want this. Anyway, so I was online and I saw this beautiful lookout. It was like an hour away from LA. See this beautiful scenery on top of Mount Wilson. And I saw that and we went there as a trip and it was incredible. Mount Wilson has an observatory. Amber, you told me to find a trail that was accessible.
Yes, I did.
Yep. Would you want to explain just why you want to make sure things that are accessible?
Yes, because sometimes, so I already don't love hiking, right? I've been doing a little bit more work in the gym so that I have better stamina, but
you hate God's creation. Continue.
I don't love hiking because sometimes you don't also consider we have a baby. It's not just you and I anymore. So it's me carrying my own weight and then navigating which one of us is going to carry Wild up the mountainside as well.
And who carried that weight?
You carried Wild on your back.
Like Jesus Christ carrying the cross, bearing the cross.
And your back was hurting. You had to stop a couple times because she's heavy.
Yeah.
And then Ben doesn't also consider sometimes so his dad loves to hike and things like that. But your mom, she is kind of like me and she likes to, we like to eat snacks and watch TV. So she's not wild about hiking up a mountain, and then y'all go so fast, leaving this poor woman behind. So me and her just bringing up the caboose.
Did we leave her behind this summer?
No, you did not.
We did not.
I made sure y'all didn't, though. I hung back with her.
We literally had the perfect hiking experience. I was influenced to go here. There was a cafe on top of this mountain. Amber drove. I realized
did drive.
you drove up this windy road. You see almost like the Emerald City. You see LA sitting out in the distance.
On some clouds.
Yeah, if you are in LA, you have to go. It's like 50 minutes.
Yes.
And then going back was 30 minutes. You just fly downhill. You're like 5,000 feet in the air. It's fantastic. Over 5,000.
It was fantastic. I will say that the lookout at Mount Wilson, beautiful. The observatories, they're pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, don't, like, it was like, oh, check out this exhibit. It was just some stars on a wall.
It was cool to see them sort of in the sky, see the dome, you know.
It was fine.
I don't think, did we have any problems? Like, usually we're like, did you get enough water? I think everything was packed.
No, everything was great. We all used the bathroom.
We all used the bathroom.
That's always my thing. I'm like, where am I going to pee if I get all the way up this mountain? It was a really good time. Mountains just don't do it for me. They're beautiful, but I'm a beach girl. I'm a tropical rainforest.
What are you looking for
riverboat
nature
kinda girl.
to do for you? Like, what does nature owe to you?
I just want to, like, mountains are so quiet. I don't thrive in very quiet places. So a jungle excites me more because I can hear, like, the birds and maybe something in the background.
Why
And
does
people.
quiet bother you?
I feel silenced when we go to the mountains. I feel like you like to go to the mountains because it forces me to be quiet.
So you're reflecting. This sounds like let's sort of work this out a little bit.
Okay,
So
we got a little bit of time.
You think your voice
Is not valued.
is not valued by me, and so I like the silence of the mountains. So therefore, that means I don't like your voice.
Correct.
That sounds a little bit like an egomaniac. Like
Maybe.
you assume because of what I like, it means that I don't like you.
Right. I just say mountains don't do it for me. I know some, like, you get a hard on looking at a mountainside. I could take it or leave it. It's just like a bunch of dead trees on a.
I don't get a
And
heart.
danger.
I'm not sexually aroused by
Yeah, you
looking
are.
out a mountain. No, this is not Evil Dead. I don't want to have sex with a tree.
I think you do.
I don't. I don't. This is not
I feel like you're in
something
front of
that I
a
desire.
judge right now. I don't.
Listen,
I don't.
maybe a woodpecker, but not a tree.
Not a tree. Oh my gosh, Ben.
I would no. I don't want to have sex with. I don't want to have sex with any. I like
What do you love? What do you love
the
about mountains?
freshness of the air.
I like
There's
a beach. I like
you
the sound
smell-
of waves. I like the sensory experience of the sand and the sun kissing
But
me and the
sand
smell of
gets
fish.
in all the. I mean, I like that too. But I do have a problem with sand. But regardless, I like the smell of the trees. You get, conifers. Conifers.
Coniferous trees?
No, that means that they eat. No, it's conifers. They're kind of like pine cone kind of tree, and you hear the knock knock of the woodpeckers. You can potentially see a bear, like just these beautiful
The potential
creatures.
of seeing a bear excites you.
Yeah, it's thrilling. I mean, they're not going to bother you.
I don't believe that. So a bear has never mauled a human being?
Yeah, well, some bears, but for the most part, you're more likely to drown going to the beach.
See, that's just not my... I like that you like to explore. I think I've been pushed to redefine how we take vacation and things like that. But I just... That's not relaxing for me. I would never think, oh my God, my family's coming to town. Let's go on a hike. But we're different.
Yeah, I was thinking your father. I remember one time I had your father hike from like one block to a next block to get like a fancy beef sandwich in Chicago, and they were not having it.
Yeah. He was like, "What? Why are we going away
Why
from
are
the
we
stadium?"
walking away? It was like Wrigley. We're at Wrigleyville, and we walk a block away to get this fancy Al's beef, and he threw a little fit.
He did.
I was like, "Oh, Amber has come a long way." No, yeah, but my parents were in town.
Yes.
I got influenced.
Yeah, we should talk about parenting.
Yeah, so they were here. My parents, they make me feel like I'm such a good parent.
Not the shade.
They
why do they make you feel that way?
They say like, oh man, like you're providing all these experiences for Wild.
Yeah.
I took her we went to the LA River, and gymnastics, swim lessons. My dad gave her swim lessons. He really struggled.
He did. Well,
We were just watching him try to.
grandparents are so like, be careful, it's okay. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, no, just let her jump
Yeah.
in the pool, and then you just pick her up. He's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I was like, let her fall, and let her be underwater for about 2 seconds. 1, 2, and he's like, that's too scary for me. It's okay. Like they took her to gymnastics, and they do circle time in gymnastics, and my dad was trying to make her sit down. I'm like, no, you can let her run around. It's okay. Like this idea of it's circle time, so we have to follow that. No, they're kids. They might not be able to sit down. And so
he's
at one
like, this
point,
is
she was
so
squirming.
LA. I'm like, she's freaking 16 months old. Like, she can't sit down for an hour.
Yeah, but he said, oh, I have to learn this. My father is like, I have to learn this. But we had a great time just talking about parenting. And every time my parents come, they always talk about how bad they were as parents growing up.
I know, they're so hard on themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, it was a different time.
Your
like,
mom's not like that. She's like, I was great, and all your faults are your fault.
Yes, that's correct. We have two very different parents.
So your dad's like, I didn't have any problems. I was great.
I'm like, blink. Okay.
My dad's like, I just really feel like, God really looked out for you because I wasn't always doing that for you. My dad is he's a pastor, so he's so Christian. So we went out to go see
everything we do. He gives it up to God, which is beautiful.
It's good.
But sometimes it'll be like,
he has an imagination.
Gary, it's a napkin. Relax. Like they give you napkins at restaurants. It's like, look at this.
We went to go see the new
God.
Mission Impossible movie. He's like a big Tom Cruise fan. And which is weird because Tom Cruise is like a Scientologist, and Anyway, so we go.
Our parents' generation do a good job of like, well, yeah, that has nothing to do with his work. Our generation's like,
My parents growing up, they thought, no, you couldn't.
what do you mean you couldn't?
You couldn't support someone if they were not a Christian. So my dad.
Oh, not a Christian. Got
Yeah.
you. I see. I think I'm just saying like.
So no
see.
movies that weren't Christian produced.
Yeah, they've come
no
a long
music.
way.
Yeah, they've come along. So we go see this movie, and at the end, he's like, I feel like as a Christian, we also have a mission that sometimes seems impossible.
How did you keep a straight face when he said that? I'm not bashing people out there that are Christian, but he can be a little corny with.
I mean,
jokes.
I
It's
was
so
like,
funny.
I'm like, I had a different takeaway. I thought maybe they were commenting about how governments are obsessed with, military spending, and maybe if we spent money on other things, we could solve the world's problems like hunger and homelessness or houselessness, I should say. And he was like, yeah, we have to share the love of Christ to everybody, and that's our mission.
And that's how they get homes.
And that's how
They're homeless because they haven't prayed hard enough.
No, my dad wouldn't say that, but I would make fun of him and
Yes.
and roast him for that.
Your dad is like classic youth pastor, like who takes the smallest thing and makes it into a message. And he's so funny. I love your father, but he's so unaware of how the world works outside of just like his identity, So remember when your mom shared like, this isn't one of the crazy things to blast him.
Oh, by the way, what section are we on? We're on like
Imperfect parenting.
Imperfect. Did you explain that where we talk about parenting?
I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah,
So-
we're talking about parenting, specifically the bad parts of parenting. Go on.
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm not segueing well, but at one point your mom shared that she went to the Barbie movie and she enjoyed it, and she was like, there were all different kinds of Barbies and stuff like that. And I chimed in. I was like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed the movie and like loved Barbies growing up. And your dad goes, did they have black Barbies when you were a kid? Like, do those exist? I was like, yes, Gary, those exist. He's like, I wouldn't know. He's like, I've never seen one. I never bought one.
I never bought a black Barbie.
I was like, yeah, they do. He's like, wow. Like he just discovered in that moment that black Barbies exist. And I was like, I just want to shake him sometimes and be like, other shit exists outside of you. But he doesn't know. Like if your whole bubble has been like white Christian people.
Yeah.
He kind of asks like little questions like that all the time. He's like, do black people do this? And I'm like, yes. He's just curious.
He's curious and
unaware.
Ignorantly racist sometimes.
He's nice though.
He's such a sweet.
He's
well,
a
the thing is,
kind,
he
ignorant-
asks questions. My dad's is a seeker of
He is.
truth,
He is.
and as a Christian, you constantly need to be seeking truth through whatever means, and so he'll ask funny things. But he had ramen for the first time.
Yes.
And he's like, how do
he's
I
like, is
eat
this a new thing?
Is this a new thing? No, it's
I'm
been
like-
around for.
I'm like, it's just
Quite a
soup and
bit.
noodles. Like, but it was so. Just
I guess
far
the pork belly was sort of weird
Oh,
for
yeah,
him
that's
to see
pushing
the way it's cut. I mean, he ate it, he enjoyed it. My mom is a little bit more adventurous in terms of food. It's so fun because every time I should preface, I grew up hating my parents, just to preface that. And so I think there was a point where I cared very deeply for my parents, and then maybe high school I started despising them. College I was like, these people are the dumbest fucking people in the world. They are, ignorant. At this point I became they're Pentecostal Christians, so I became more of a liberal Christian, you could say, like Episcopalian, and more high church, which is like incense, praying to Mary, that kind of thing. And they were low church, which is guitars, no statues, no
guitars.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like playing guitar, where I was into church like organ music, and having a choir, and sort of think of Handel and violins and that. So I went to high church; they were low church. And now I think they're absolutely fantastic. And I think it's so funny how we go through these ebbs and flows
Yes.
of parenting. And I think they were pretty good parents, considering, spending a lot of time with, as a teacher, with lots of parents who I think should never have kids, and yet had quite a few of them.
Yeah, they're very hard on themselves. Like every mistake of yours, your mother just owns. Like she's like, I should have taught him how to do that better. I'm like, he is fine. He
like
is grown.
Things
gotta
like she
let
had
this
never
go.
the skill to have taught me.
She's like, I should have introduced them to ramen. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just ramen noodles,
yeah,
and they are delicious. But yeah, I wonder what season of Wild's life she'll hate us.
Oh God.
It happens to everybody.
Yeah, well, you start to see your parents. There's some point where you start to see them as humans, and they have their own flaws. Some people can never unsee that, right? So I'm going through a process of unseeing my parents as like flawed humans, which makes them. I used to think they're flawed, therefore they have nothing of value to share with me.
I love my in-laws. That's what makes me so sad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're coming to that realization now. That's just a part of growing up.
Yeah, it is sometimes hard though, because my parents do believe things that I think are the dumbest beliefs.
Yeah.
They believe things that make
Not
zero
just
sense to me.
Christianity as a whole,
just
but
Christian.
just some things.
So there are certain like political beliefs that they have that I think are just weird. You know, they don't make any sense. And
I taught your mom this weekend what spiritual bypassing means.
Oh,
Remember I told you
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, that's what my dad, what my husband does sometimes." I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Where you're like, we're not going to have this conversation because
God told me
this,
Yeah.
or a scripture verse affirms what I'm thinking. Like, no, let's actually think about this logically. And spiritual bypassing was a big part of how I grew up.
I only recently learned what that term meant. For
It's
those of you listening at home, I was talking to
Great term.
Dr. Martin, Dr. Raquel Martin, PhD. Yeah, where essentially people just use their spiritual beliefs to, gaslight you and control you and things like that. So you share something about yourself, and then your parent goes like, well, that's not a part of God's plan. Well, I talked to God, and God told me that you're going through a phase or whatever it is. And you're just like, hey, so that's just the end of the discussion. Like, God told you this thing, so now I don't, you don't see my humanity or whatever. So I think your mom was realizing how many times, it wasn't shaking her faith, obviously, but it definitely made her see, these are the ways in which I've been manipulated a little bit by my pastor or maybe other people in my life.
I think it is very misleading because you use scripture that is the inspired word of God that these people believe, Christians believe, as a means for your own selfish attainment.
Right.
Right. And that I find so fascinating. Like, because you can't really argue with God, but the thing is, you're just using scripture
Yeah.
for your own ends. And it's hard if you believe that the word of God is the inspired word of God, then it's hard to combat that spiritual bypassing with someone. I see Christians doing that all the time, using that as an excuse maybe to make a poor financial or a, inconsiderate financial decision, or jumping into a relationship that maybe they shouldn't, or ending a relationship that maybe they shouldn't be ending because some random verse from the Bible that's taken out of context.
That's like all televangelists do.
Yeah.
Like to make you, or we were talking to Jessica Rose a couple episodes later, where a couple episodes before, where she talked about at one point how her church was trying to say, like, thank God we were given stimulus checks to give back into the church and things like that.
God, nuts, crazy.
Yeah, that's and it's a delicate dance of like listening to your faith and using that as a blueprint for your life, but also like making your own decisions and having your own autonomy. And that's scary for some people. It is scary to be like, I have to like solely make this decision on my own. I'd rather rely on my husband or my church or whatever.
Yeah, my parents they're very Christian, and so they do buy lots of Christian things for Wild.
Yes, they do.
and I'm okay with that. They have like this. My mom was so proud. She got this like little. We should have hung it up, but basically it's this little picture of like a little black girl and saying like, I am beautiful, and below it has all these Christian verses.
Right.
So these positive affirmations, but there's Christian verses on each one. I'm like, you know what? I'll hang that up.
Good, because I feel early Amber Ben, you would have like ripped it up in front of her.
I would have burnt that
like,
shit.
Ben, it's not that.
Not
real.
Early Amber Ben. Not no. I would say
I
definitely.
feel like year 1 or 2 Amber, you would have definitely.
Maybe I would have been a little cruel,
aggressive.
In that sense. Yeah, I've since learned to not be so averted by that, because in my mind I want the way I raise my child, I want to be inclusive as much as possible to as many ideas as possible. Sure. And growing up, everything was just Christian, so it's funny, like I'll let my parents teach Wild about Christ and their form of Christianity, but I would also like. I just got a book on Ramadan that I'm going to read to Wild,
right? And
other religious beliefs, and so I'll read those. My parents would never, ever, though, have taught me any other religious belief.
I grew up very Christian too, but it wasn't like it was not like Ben's experience at all. Like we weren't homeschooled. Like my mom let us watch Harry Potter. Like she kind of didn't, or both of my parents didn't really fall into like the panic that your parents sort of bought into, like.
Satanic panic.
The satanic panic and that philosophy, or like I'm sure they would have like hated if you played Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. Whereas my parents were like, go to public school. I don't care if you listen to rap CDs or rated R movies. Just as long as you in church on Sunday, I'm cool.
I'm very comfortable saying I grew up in a cult, and someone might say it was a conservative, right wing, evangelical fringe movement.
Very
bitch, that was a cult.
Bitch, a cult is a cult.
My parents have now sort of moved away from those stuff. But yeah, like weird stuff involving like
you told me about like the Christian flags.
But also like gold dust. You look up like Christians, gold dust, religious barking. You got
religious barking.
Oh, Amber,
you have to give us a demo.
So there was these movements that were happening in the sort of early 90s, where they called them revivals, but really it was these religious ecstatic experiences, and they stressed a form of religious fervor that involved barking and rolling on the floor,
barking,
holy laughter. Yeah, man.
Oh Lord. Okay. Are we gonna get a demo?
It's so embarrassing because I used to think that was God. Because the Holy Spirit works in mysterious ways.
I want to hear you.
I think like when you understand this context, you're like, wow, okay, I understand why Ben was maybe a little mean to his parents. I'm not going to religious bark. It's like, oh, Jesus, Lord. a break.
I have to pee. Wait, I have to pee.
Did you really?
Yes. Wait.
Literally rolling on the floor.
Wait. We're back.
We're back. I do. So yeah, this was it was the Toronto Blessing. You can go ahead, Google it on YouTube and sort of see what was happening there. My father was part of that movement. Regardless,
not bark like a Christian. Not who let the Christians out. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. I'm gonna end though because I was really bitter. I was like very jealous of Wild because my dad played her Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Had Wild listen to it.
I remember.
And I was so upset because I was like, Dad, you would never have let me listen to Led Zeppelin. I remember one time I got a Led Zeppelin CD-ROM from the library, from Emma Clark Library, and I downloaded it onto our Dell computer, Windows 2000 XP, and you were really angry. Like, this music worships the devil. And I had to, like, delete it.
Did you confront him this weekend about
I
that?
did. I was like, Dad, like, you've changed.
I remember hearing you say it, but I was like, oh, let me get out of this conversation.
Yeah, Amber gets so uncomfortable when I bring up a potentially,
yes,
like,
because I told you why. I
yeah,
just don't.
Sure. You don't want them to say something like, I hate black people, and I've been keeping it secret this whole time.
Yes. Well,
Which
I
they
know
never.
I know they're not going to say that, but I feel like something absurd, because I know how you can escalate people sometimes.
Push their button.
Yes, something absurd could potentially be said, and then I'm like, well, great, now I'm never going to forget this. So
yeah, I sort of lead.
Casualties, yes.
I sort of lead to logical conclusions. So there are certain conservative Christian beliefs where I'm saying, okay, if you believe that, then you also believe B, which will lead you to C, which if you follow this down the line, it's going to lead you to believe a very harmful belief, which people have used to, encourage certain harmful behaviors throughout U.S. history, whether it be incarceration, rates, etc. So
Correct.
I was very proud of my dad playing this secular demon music for my child. It is a great song. And then we listened to the Carpenters. My parents were sharing all this other like non-Christian music. It was weird. I was like, wait,
we're
know?
Pushing them.
Yeah.
They're like hippy dippy kids with his black wife.
Yeah, and I think that's what kids they're supposed to do. Allow them to push. Yeah, you're not scary. You're great. You were like trying to end our date. They like watch Wild and like I want to get back and hang out with your parents. I was like, dang.
I love watching movies with your mother.
Yeah, my mom is a very vocal watcher, so she'll be talking like, oh no, he shouldn't do that.
Oh,
Like,
it's very black
talks
of her.
at the TV.
You know what else? Your mom, Ben's mom, will say this, and then we'll get onto our relationship later. Ben's mom is kind of a comedian.
She's very
she's got some good jabs in there. Like she will make she made like a dark humor joke at the house. I'm sure you've heard it before about some other things, but she's so like fun.
She's like, it took me for years to say the word penis. I would say peewee and I just
like,
I couldn't say penis.
I just can't say penis. I don't know why. As she's saying it, it's so funny.
Well, yeah, it was the sex-averse Christian society subculture that my parents were part of for a very long time, and it's taken them 70 years to grow out of it.
So did they do the religious barking, or were they like, okay, this is a little too much?
They wouldn't have knocked it if it happened at the church.
Okay, can you like, because you're kind of like a metalhead and a mosh pit kind of guy. Like, did you kind of enjoy the barking part?
I love that shit. I was rolling on the floor and laughter, Holy Spirit. I just was fun. It was ecstatic. It was like, this is my emotions are built up, and they don't call it emotions; they call it the Holy Spirit. So they actually don't give you the correct terms for your emotional.
Because I've seen footage of you as a kid. Something tells me you would have loved rolling on the floor,
down for the Holy Spirit,
religious barking
coming on me and controlling my actions. Levitate me, Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Oh
so,
my God.
So my parents are great. They're fantastic, and I hope to keep pushing them. I hope to have Wild push us.
I will never forget you spiritually barking for Christ in this room today. This is why I married you. This is why I do life with you, and I'm very excited to continue learning about other religious exercises and modalities that y'all did.
Prophetic circles. I've talked to you about those.
And what do you do in a prophetic
You,
circle?
you wait for God to download some sort of image in your head to give to someone who's sitting in the middle of a circle. Like tell them, like, go sell your car for Christ and give the money to the church or something crazy like that.
And do people do it?
Yeah. And yeah, it's sad. Prophetic circles.
Okay, what was the gold dust? That's the last thing I want to talk about.
So the gold dust was a manifestation of the Holy Spirit, and it was this phenomenon that was occurring in certain
For a small fee.
Pentecostal churches. So there's actually the church near here called Bethel that does a lot of that. I mean, I consider Bethel as a homophobic, transphobic church of wickedness, I would say, but they're a Christian Pentecostal movement, and they do really weird things. I mean, I think the whole thing is just scammy. Did you look up gold dust?
I did.
Yeah, gold dust, Holy Spirit.
The Jesus generation.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a money-making venture.
It is.
It's big money in this.
There is money. This is why these things do well. So
we're going to move on to the relationship, the I do's and don'ts of relationships. Gold dust might heal your relationship. You never know. Question number 1. Hey, Amber and Ben. My boyfriend is extremely sensitive. We've been together for 6 months, and we have spent the last 3 weeks basically living together at my place. He does have his own apartment. And at first this was fine, but after a while, I just started to need space, and I also wanted time to miss him. Well, I told him that. I told him I needed a few days to reset my apartment, deep clean, do some self-care, and he took it extremely personally. He made a comment about how when we move in together, we won't be able to have extra space, and I'm being selfish. I believe his feelings are hurt because I can go a day or two without him, but instead of admitting that, he says passive things like, just let me know when you're ready to be in my presence again. Or,
that's sort of funny.
I don't want to be around nobody who don't want to be around me. Any help?
Yeah, so this is something Amber and I have dealt with in the past, and a big part of it is maturing.
Yeah, because I be wanting to be in your skin.
Yeah, so there's a level of maturity and realize, no, this has nothing to do with you. This is about my desire to have time for myself to recharge. And send him videos on the difference between introverts and extroverts. Make it very clear, like, dude, it could be you. It could be the hottest dude on earth, and I'd still want my alone time. It has nothing to do with the actual relationship that y'all have. And if he's super sensitive about it, he's immature. He needs to grow up. And Amber was immature in that area.
I need so much fucking space right now. It's crazy. So I totally get your stance. I was laughing.
I know why you're laughing.
Why?
Because you'll be like, I need a break off from you for a day.
I do, but I was laughing about something else. Because didn't you just say send him a video?
Oh, yeah, I was laughing about that. I forgot. Mm-hmm.
You want me to say anything about videos?
No, we'll pass videos.
Man, you don't want to talk about videos?
I'm okay.
Ben, I be trying to send you videos sometimes.
Amber will send me a video. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. What if someone hacks your phone and they get you?
I want it to feel freaky, though.
I'm like terrified of that type of shit. I like it. It's nice. I'm also terrified. I'm going to like open up. It's like, there's Amber's titties and I'm on a train or something.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say something so funny. If you want me to cut this later, we can. So me and Ben made a video recently of, fun time.
Less than 24 hours ago.
Less than 24 hours ago. And we watched it back and it was so bad. The angles were so horrible.
Oh, my God. This looked like some National Geographic shit. This was not Brazers.
Ben was like, that looks like the fucking National Geographic. Because we were being intimate. But then we were also trying to get a little bit like, ooh, let's record it, and it was so bad. Next time I'll get the tripod and the whole thing. But I was just laughing because we look
can't
like
be porn
fucking Animal
stars.
Planet. It was so bad. I'll show a friend of mine.
I
later,
thought
so
I was killing it. The only thing I was killing
it felt
was
good.
like
It was great.
any hope of a OnlyFans.
Oh yeah,
That video is deleted. So if you have any requests for it, no, it's
I
gone.
didn't delete it.
Oh,
Talking about the one with the bad angles.
yeah.
I kept it. It's funny to me.
It looked like a rat.
But to this question, you know what? As the person who's been the extremely sensitive partner, just put your foot down on it, because we say stupid shit all the time. Like the drama of like, just let me know when you're ready to be in my presence
Like,
again. We're looking for you to be like
oh,
like
well,
we say
this-
that, and then we look your way
the
to
person-
be like, did he hear me say that?
This person's looking to manipulate you. And Amber, when you say shit like that, you're looking to manipulate. It's a power game.
Maybe.
It's immature. He needs to grow the fuck up in the same way that you need to learn to grow the fuck up.
I've gotten better about
You
being
have.
that sensitive.
Yeah, for sure. But there's still times when I'm like, I want to read a book, and you're like, you don't love me, and I'm like,
You don't.
and because usually it's because you drank caffeine or an alcoholic drink.
I get horny.
I mean, or stressed out.
You know you get horny after you drink too.
Yeah, no. Well, sometimes it has to do with just watching a movie. I'll be like, hey, I don't really want to watch a movie tonight. I want to go upstairs and read a book. And you're like, you take that as I don't want to spend time with you.
Right.
No,
That's what you said.
no. And this is something that Amber's had to learn, is that no, what I said was I want to read a book.
Without me.
I want to read a book.
Without me in your presence.
See, and this is the shit I'm talking about. Is
That's why
as
I
an
think
introvert and
y'all
extrovert,
gonna make it forever.
as an introvert and extrovert, the introvert has made their need known, and the extrovert has to recognize that the introvert,
An introvert. Oh my gosh.
the introvert and extrovert dynamic.
Who's the introvert in this dynamic? I'm kidding.
I think it depends. There are times I'm like, I want to go out and explore and do stuff, and times you don't. But I need moments to recharge.
Yeah, but you
by
know there are
myself.
times all the time where I'm like, a friend invites me to dinner and you're like, can I come?
Oh yeah.
Can I come?
I love hanging.
Well,
out
I want to
with
hang out with you too.
I like.
What's wrong with me hanging out with my wife, eating food? I'm like,
That's
she's
fun.
not bringing her person, Ben.
That's
so
true.
no.
I don't consider me your person. I'm my own goddamn person.
Yeah, you're my person.
That being said, you, the person in this letter, ignore this person because
Yeah.
they're being a little bitch.
Yeah,
A
he'll
little
get over
baby.
it because I get over it. When Ben tells me like, no,
No,
you're gonna.
I don't know if they get over it. Just be like, you need to make it clear this is not about you. Like,
Yes.
this is what I tell Amber. I'm like, this is not about you.
You know what else is helpful? If you set the precedent in your relationship, or a pattern rather of regularly planning that time. So if you say like every Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to take the day to ourselves. So that way, because I think as the person that's been the sensitive person, it sucks when I'm like, okay, I just finished editing these things and I can go hang out with Ben. And then Ben's like, I don't want to hang out with you. And I'm like, but I'm going to be busy the rest of the week. So I think it's really helpful if you're like, hey, how about you and I pick one day a week where we're going to do our own thing. And on that day, we both have the understanding that we're going to do our own thing.
I like that.
That
yeah.
way, he's not like caught off guard if he's been at work all day and then you don't want to hang out. Because that does suck when you're like, but I have this like finite amount of time and now you're not in the mood to hang out with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
So maybe what we really need is a little bit of consistency. And that's when it becomes like, it's not a him versus you thing. It's like, we both deserve self-care. We both deserve our time. But if you say like, hey, I'm going to deep clean this apartment every 2 weeks, and when that deep clean happens, because we both deserve a clean space, I need you out of the space. And then I hope he would be a little less sensitive about it, right?
Yeah. Well, I think this is just a hangout situation.
No,
Like, she
they said
wants-
they've been together for 6 months.
She wants more time by herself to chill.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've been living basically at her place for the last 3 weeks, even though
Right.
he has his own apartment. So he could go back to his own apartment.
Yeah.
But he's like,
I think
he's
making
all
clear,
clinky
like,
on it. Because he
hey-
loves you, girl.
Yeah, but
You need some space.
making the need for space is so difficult.
Especially with, that was such a nice time when we each had our own spots. Right?
We'll never have that again.
Ever. Well,
maybe if we have
you'll have your floor and I'll have mine.
My floor. Maybe you got to have your own space, but we don't have that now because we don't have that kind of money.
No.
But if you have
We're getting
that
there.
kind of money.
Remember last show we talked about maybe me renting out one of those little rooms at the spot.
Yeah, getting a workspace would be critical for you.
You want to move on to letter number 2? Dear Amber and Ben, this is an interesting one to me. Can you save a marriage if you got married for the wrong reasons? I'll be honest. I got married because I'm a control freak. I thought getting married would change my husband into the partner I needed him to be. In other words, I was waiting for him to be something he's not, and I wanted to change him. The marriage has been great for the most part, but I'm not in love with or as emotionally connected with him as I would like to be. We've been married for 5 years in December.
I mean, I watched Insecure, so she stayed with him for all those years.
Who?
Issa, for the first season.
Oh, Lawrence.
Yeah, she stays with Lawrence.
Yeah, but that's because, they started out wanting to be together, and then Lawrence, lacked ambition and da-da-da-da. But
if you're but she's waiting for him to change.
Right.
And she thinks if she stays with, in the show, Insecure, if Issa stays with Lawrence in the show, that Lawrence eventually will get his business plan together. It's I'm good at the business plan. That's the whole bit throughout the entire first season. And that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so if you're staying with someone hoping for them to change.
It's hard because you're is it worth breaking up a marriage if I'm not in love with this person or I'm not emotionally connected with them? I think it's definitely worth a conversation before breaking it off completely. I think if this was ever to happen with you and I, let's say you were feeling this way, I would want you to tell me. I would want us to go to counseling about it and try to see if we could find some there has to be something in this that reminds me why I fell for this person, because I do think some relationships have spells and ebbs and flows, but it's sad to hear we're about to be married for 5 years and I'm just not emotionally connected with this person or in love with them.
Yeah. I mean, before you address that whole marital conflict, you might look at that control freak part of you. I think she says that she's a control freak. Maybe address that issue and think about what you're trying to control and to what end you're doing that.
Right.
Right. Because if you can relinquish some control, maybe you can allow yourself to be connected with this person or reconnect with this person.
I think it's also worth, if the relationship has been in flux for a while, it's also worth reminding yourself why you decided to be with this person. Why did you even want to change this person in the first place? I know on days that are very hard for you and I really have to sit down and be let me remind myself what I loved about this person, what qualities I see in myself that I see in this person. And typically that brings me back and I'm oh, it's this. It's not there's been very, very hard days, but on some days where we've had some trials, I've been kind of there has to be a reason why I married this person. There has to be something about this person that I love. And I'm oh yeah.
There's so many.
All 200 of these things.
Well, it sounds like this person knows the reason she got married was to control this other person. And now she's realizing that's why I did this. So I don't really like this person. It was just a way to gain some sort of power. And marriages and divorces are super expensive. So maybe she can just force herself to fall in love with someone. You can force yourself to fall in love with someone. People do it all the time,
Yeah, but you have to have some sort of we're going to make a conscious effort to go on dates and talk positively to each other and support each other and highlight each other.
Divorce is expensive, unless you have someone else in mind. You're I've fallen, because I don't believe in soulmates. For me, they don't exist.
Right.
You can fall in love with anybody given the right amount of time.
I'm anybody.
Yeah. We just connect. The stars aligned in that moment where we were able to connect with. And honestly, even if I did find someone who felt like a soulmate, and I fell in love with them, I wouldn't divorce you because that's expensive. And I also like hanging out with you a lot. So I'm trying to be practical about this.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, you ain't going nowhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
You can fall in love with somebody.
I
over
can
there.
fall in love
Just
with
make
anyone.
sure.
Because I'm just not going to, the reality of the situation is we've built something together. Because even if you fall in love with someone, that 6 months of like honeymoon ends, and then you have to figure about like, does this person like to yellow mellow or brown flush it down? And like, okay, now I have to deal with this person. Or maybe this person likes honey wheat bread and you prefer a good old, potato bread. And like, okay, which bread do we buy now? Or this person likes to cook, but you also like to cook, but they prefer, using like a unsalted butter, but you prefer salted butter. There's these little things that you just
hungry. Listen, if you
don't
talk
consider.
about what people prefer. Right.
So like falling in love with someone is fine, but then you got to learn how to be a roommate with that person. 5 years that's no walk in the park. That's a good amount of time. I mean, humans, I think the average age is like 78.
Okay.
So 78 minus 5 is 72 years. So that's a good chunk of time, right? 5 years in the terms of humans are just we live for such a short amount of time. So I would consider like recognize that you don't love this person.
I think they did.
Right, which you did. And now find a way to manipulate the world around you so that you can fall in love with this person.
So you've fallen out of love with me and had to do this before?
No, I think I've fallen out of love.
Probably.
At certain days, I am way out of love. Like I've actually fallen into hate. And so I have to manipulate the world to fall into love, back into love with you. So here's my thing. I read a really great article. I think we read this because you don't like giving blowjobs. And so
I'll do it.
Yeah, but you don't enjoy it. So we were reading about.
I enjoy that you enjoy it, but if you didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. So I actually read this thing where you can actually train yourself to love a blowjob.
What were some of the tips?
So the tip was you can make yourself do anything.
Yeah, you can.
You really can. So
I like that it turns you on. That's enough of a reason for me to do it.
So grab your magic wand, your rose, your what's that like that Yeah, the magic wand. Grab your vibrator, or whatever, and as you're giving head, you make yourself orgasm.
It's so much better that way.
And so the guzzle combined with the orgasm of the pussy, or if you don't like giving head, you're
not
a dude.
being the sexpert.
So jerk yourself off, come, and the moment of your orgasm, deep throat, and your brain can actually trick itself into thinking the deep throat is pleasurable and gave me the orgasm, right?
Okay.
So talking about this person's situation, you don't love this person, but you can literally create a situation like say you love
but I love this thing.
You love watching rom-coms. So force this person to watch rom-coms with you. Or be like, hey, this would mean a lot if you watch rom-coms. Or you love going hiking, so go hiking with this person.
Yeah, I think it's worth a try. But there is a time in your relationship, especially if you've been with somebody a long time, that you're like, we have to try new things together.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to fucking hate each other. Because no human being wants to just keep living the same day over and over and over.
None. Some. But not me.
Well, some people are comfortable like that. But not you and I. I feel like every time... I think I had a moment this week where I was like, I feel like I haven't connected with you.
You said that. You're like,
in like 3 or 4 days. Maybe it's because your parents were here and so we were just talking. But I was like, I feel like I've been talking at you all day and I haven't had a conversation with you today.
Yeah. I think you had some work stuff that came up. Our life has gotten a little bit busier. Mm-hmm. We've had family and friends, we have friends from Chicago, family from ATL, then my sister from Salt Lake City, and then my family from New York. Now your family from ATL, and then I'm going to a bachelorette party, and then we're going back to ATL. Then we're going to a wedding. It's
and then
all
I was
business.
like, I don't think I've actually asked you how you were doing today.
Mm-hmm. So you have to create some sort of environment where all you're doing is having fun, and that was me and you last night. We got a drink, and you told me some funny jokes, and all we did was have an emotional connection. All we did. It was amazing. It was fantastic. But the environment allowed us to do that. We were away from our child. My parents were able to watch our child.
Yeah,
and we were in a
need-
bar
you and
outside
I-
with our phones put away.
We almost can't have like a powerful emotional connection with Wild there
Yeah.
because she's
She
like the focal
sucks
point.
the energy out of the room.
No, she doesn't.
she's
Well, she's so cute.
she's
She
an
takes all our
energy
attention.
vampire.
Oh
Watch
my gosh.
we're in the shadows. There's energy vampires and they just suck your like energy out of you.
But because she's such a like, did you pack the diaper bag?
Yeah,
I didn't. Are we going to swim today? Are we going to gymnastics? So when she's removed, we are forced to sit with each other again,
Yeah.
which is the problem people have when their kids go to college or move out. They're like, okay, well, we haven't had a conversation with each other in 30 years. So what are we going to talk about now?
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of what are we going to talk about now, our last segment is called Shelfie, where we talk about books and movies that we have read. And speaking of doing fun things together and connecting on new experiences, we saw a horror movie together. Which movie did we see, Ben?
Talk to Me, and I watched it like this with my hands covered over my eyes. It was the scariest movie
It's very
I've seen.
scary.
Oh my god! And you know what? The body count is low. Spoiler alert! I should give. So not a lot of people are dying, but holy shit, is this movie scary?
Very good. A24. Once again, I don't know what the rules are about
Real.
talking about movies and stuff.
You're fine.
Okay.
They do real effects, so the gore that you see is actual, like, fake blood type of stuff. No CGI.
Right.
It's a possession film, and the ghosts that you see in it are like the makeup is in it. Bulbous grossness. Oh,
Yeah. Like Ben was so excited to see it, and then he was hiding like
I
in my
was such
armpit the entire
I ha-
film. It was so great. I was like,
I got to
this is
tell you
great.
something. I think you're gonna be mad, but I couldn't watch this movie. So at one point, I had to get up and use the bathroom, and I read the entire synopsis in the bathroom.
Why did you do that?
I couldn't watch it. I needed to know who was
I'm not
going to
mad
die.
about that, but
I was so scared, Amber. I'm such a little pussy, but I'm your pussy.
yeah, you are.
And it was so scary. I literally had to read the entire spoiler alert, the whole spoiler. I read everything.
Oh my gosh, really?
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I was
Wow.
so. I
The
couldn't.
religious
I
barking
literally
came up for you.
Well, yeah, because I actually believe what's happening on the screen is real,
Got it.
and the possession is so.
He couldn't thug it out. What say you?
But
Go
I
see
was
Talk to
holding-
Me.
We also were in the worst movie theater I've ever been in.
Agree.
Like, tell the folks, the good folks, why it was the worst movie theater.
It's not even just because we're getting bougier by the day. Like, we walked into this theater and red flag number one, the AC was broken.
Yep.
So we actually wore sweats. We wore
And
like
cold and comfy.
comfy pants and comfy top so that when we walked in here, we were like completely cozy with a cool breeze. And so it was hot. So we were sweating during the film. And then you order food on this little tablet or whatever. They bring you the food and the food is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. I'm talking like rice crunchy. Like
It was cafeteria food from high school.
cafeteria food, and they didn't even, warm it up in the microwave, in my opinion. And then it was just like, I don't know, like the lights weren't low enough at certain points. So I was like, why can I still see people? It was just like some standard movie theater things. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was like a Thursday night, and we were one of 10 people. We were 2 of 10 people in there. So I was like, these are red flags.
It wasn't very clear how they
Oh, yes.
designated the theater, what
Right.
theater. So we're sitting down. I'm like, this is weird. Like, the movie hasn't started yet, and it's 8:30. It turned out we were in the wrong theater.
Right, because it was unclear.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Anyway, but we did have a good time.
We did.
And we had a good time analyzing the film. The film, because there's a deep message in this film, and it is about humans' inability to deal with tragedy and loss, and how that affects us, and how sometimes who we think the connection we might have with someone might be deeper than it actually is, and I don't want to say more. I don't want to spoil it.
Don't. It's
There
so
are
good.
some.
If you like
it's
horror,
about family.
see it.
Yeah, it is so good.
It's so wild that you were so terrified by it because you love horror movies. Like every October,
do.
Ben like forces us to watch all these horror movies. And
Mhm.
so when you were acting like that, I was like, oh, really? Interesting.
the jump scares are phenomenal. Like the
Really good.
opening scene just sets you up thinking, oh, it's going to be this kind of movie, and it's a little bit like that kind of movie, like a slasher horror, type of thing. But I just can't. That opening sequence was so disturbing to me and so graphic and visceral, and it wasn't bloody. The opening sequence, everything's shown
violent.
In the shadows. There's like a violent scene where someone inflicts self-harm, and you only see the shadow of them doing it, but it's very sudden, and the sound in that film is so
really well
great.
done. The leading girl was great too.
Oh, phenomenal. I mean, it's one of the best movies I think I've seen this year.
We see a lot of movies.
It was up there.
And then, Ben, you're going to be leaving us soon because you're going to be in Jacksonville. My family's coming here. We haven't been apart in a minute.
This will be the longest time I will be away from Wild. I've never been away from Wild this long. You have for different things, but usually it's been like a day.
Yes.
Spent,
well, it's Wild and me, because at least in Atlanta, she was away for a month for a couple of days, but you had me to hang out with, and then she came back the last day. But
that was the longest, I think.
That was the longest,
3 days.
but you're about to be doing your own thing, partying in Jacksonville
I gotta
for
get
3 or 4 days.
I need to get a punk slutty outfit. So.
Oh, yes. Ben has a friend who's getting married, so Ben is invited to the bachelorette party, which I think is fucking awesome. So I need to style you for something. Mm-hmm. So we need a punk look.
Yeah, I'll send you. She's super organized. She gave me the whole outlet. So there's some casual stuff, but there's a punk slutty look, and then there's a fancy dinner, so something a little bit more fancier. It is Florida, so it's gonna be very muggy. So my friend Erica just broke down everything we needed. It was so brilliant. I was like, oh, this is what Amber would do.
Ready to go shopping?
I'm ready to go shopping. Let's do it.
We're going to go shopping right now, right?
Right now.
Maybe go get a taco and then go shopping.
Yeah.
You know I always need a taco. Anyway, thank y'all so much for listening to another episode of Fly on the Wallin podcast. We got some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to y'all tuning in.
I'm trying to see if I can see your pussy, your vagina. I can't. Okay.
No, you can't.
I can't. Okay.
Unless you want to. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. We'll see y'all next week for the show. Bye, y'all.
Sorry. Sorry.
You know,
I thought you were a little open there.
Cause those laughs keep you coming, cause they're wildin' all the time. Before Wild throws a tantrum, listen to our silly anthem, cause they're wild.